Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Sharon Pochron, and I will be teaching your Anthropology 101 course. It's called Cultural Anthropology. And I suppose I should tell you the CERN. Hmm, What is the CERN, you ask? I don't know. I do know. I have it written down someplace. Maybe it's in this notebook. I have so many notebooks. Okay. The CERN is 36138. Okay, that's important for you guys. It just makes sure, allows you to know that you're in the right class. Okay, so first of all, let me tell you a little bit about me. So I have a PhD, and it seems like a long time ago, but it was a super fun degree to get. I got my PhD from the University of New Mexico, which is in Albuquerque, and I got my my bachelor's degree from Franklin and Marshall College. So for my PhD, I went and I lived in a tent for 2 years in a place called Ruaha National Park, which is in Tanzania. And I spent about 3/4 of that time following baboons around, wild baboons that didn't know people, and collecting data on their foraging behavior. And what I did is I tested economic models that predicted what foods they would eat and what foods they would ignore. So following baboons around, the plains of the African plains was pretty damn fun. Not gonna lie, I saw elephants and giraffes and all sorts of antelope and cheetahs and leopards and lions. And did I say elephants? Because one time I accidentally almost walked into an elephant. I was paying attention to my handheld computer, didn't notice the elephant. That is a true fact. So what's my PhD in? Think about it. Using economic models to study baboon foraging behavior. What do you think my degree is in? It's in anthropology, because anthropology traditionally has 4 fields. It has primatology is one of them. Archaeology is another one. Linguistics is another one. And straight up cultural anthropology, which is what this class is the 4th. So anthropology is one of the oldest majors, if you will. It dates back to the end of the 1800s to a guy named Franz Boas, who was working in California. And all of the major schools of thought in anthropology, I'm not going to say all of them, but because mine doesn't. The primary ones all trace back to Franz Boas and his students. So Franz Boas was he's Californian, and he was the first guy to go live with the Inuit, who were called the Eskimo at the time, but their own word for themselves is the Inuit, in Alaska. And he was working at a time where you could get paid $45 for each Indian that you killed by the state of California. So Indians were considered subhuman, and of course Inuit are Indian, and people scoffed at them, looked down at them, considered them subhuman. They went there and they lived with them for a long time and got to understand their culture and their clothing and their technology. And if you think about it, any group of people who can live at the poles, have pretty stunning ability to master technology, right? And this is at the end of the 1800s, so no computers, no snowmobiles. So Franz Boas is pretty damn cool. He's not perfect though. Like anybody from those ages, racism is a thing. He had women students, but even for him, sexism was a thing. But still, a remarkable guy who taught us to see the world through the eyes of, to get ourselves out of our own head and to imagine what it would be like to be living in somebody else's head or shoes. Head or shoes, you pick. Okay, so since I got my degree, so here's the thing. If you're going on the educational trajectory, you get you get a bachelor's degree. Oh, in your case, you get an associate's degree, you get a bachelor's degree. You can go on to get a master's degree and stop there, or the way that mine worked is I got into a PhD program, and as part of the PhD program, I got a master's. And then if you want to keep going, you can get what's called a postdoctoral internship. And so my very first real job was a postdoc at Stony Brook University, and I'm still there. So my real job is I'm an educator, but my full-time position is at Stony Brook University. I have a full-time lectureship there. I am the director of the major called the Ecosystems and Human Impact major, which is part of sustainability. I run, I'm what they call the PI, the principal investigator of the Worm Lab. And the Worm Lab is super damn cool. We're gonna learn, you guys will learn more about the Worm Lab as we go on. But the Worm Lab is a lab run mostly by undergraduate students like yourselves. If you guys transferred to Stony Brook, you could definitely work in the Worm Lab. And it's students set up their own experiments. You guys think of them. I help you come up with a protocol. You guys set it up and run it. You collect the data, you analyze the data, and then you either make a poster or you communicate it orally. It runs both fall and spring, and I usually have kids working in the Worm Lab over the summer. So I think at last count, I had published in peer-reviewed journals. So any of you guys who think in med school or dental school or even law school or or high school, if you want to educate in any of those venues, publishing, I think I've published with more than 50 students at this point. So it's an undergraduate research lab where you guys do most of the work. And if you do the work and we get cool results and I write it up, it's a lot of ifs, then you get published. So I think I got more than 50 students published right now. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about how we're going to run this class. First of all, cultural, my husband also has a PhD in anthropology, and you have to take a series of exams. You have to take a comprehensive exam for your master's, and then you have to take another exam for your PhD. And when he was getting ready to study for his comprehensive for his master's, which is actually a little bit harder because they call people in your master's and that exam. So they tell you whether you're good enough to go on to the PhD or if you stop there. And so what you do when you're preparing for that exam is you go to all the people that are going to be giving you exam questions and you say, hey, what do I study for this? What questions are you going to give me? And so my husband goes up to one professor and the professor says, it's easy. All you have to know is about all people and all times and all places. So anthropology is really the study of people. But anthropology is a really, it's kind of a bizarre field. I have been mistaken with my PhD in anthropology. I have been mistaken as a PhD in chemistry. I've been mistaken as a PhD in biology. Very few people look at my body of work and say, oh, clearly she's an anthropologist. If you are an anthropologist, you can study anything from, the poetry of Uganda to women's rights in China to archaeology in England to baboons in Tanzania to, oh, I know one of my colleagues at Stony Brook is her PhD is in anthropology, and her last grant was from NASA. And she's studying the effect of global warming is melting the glaciers in the Andes. And she's studying the way that the Andean people are responding to their melting glacier. So if it's got any human component, and what doesn't, you could be anthropology. So to me, that makes anthropology a super strong field. It's very versatile, and I think it's the most fun. Let's see, where was I going with this? Oh, philosophy for, so this is just how I lecture, by the way, although honestly, I curse a lot. And I apologize. I'll try not to do that because I know some of you are listening to this with small children in the room. I try not to do it even when you're in the classroom, but I have a potty mouth. Let's see. So the kind of anthropology that I learned actually has a very strong evolutionary foundation to it. And the kind of scientist that I am by training, I'm not this kind of science. I don't do this kind of work very much anymore. I'm a trained behavioral ecologist. And a behavioral ecologist looks at the way that populations have come to fit their environment in terms of genes and behavior. So behavioral ecology. I think it's even though I don't do it much anymore because I've moved on to the worm lab, which is mostly ecotoxicology, which is the impact of toxins on the environment. You can see how that's related to human behavior. But the behavioral ecology part, I really love because I really like figuring out how creatures fit their environment. And the reason I became a scientist was because I love animals. And in fact, in my house right now, 4 pets, I have pets and research animals in my house right now. Hang on, let me show you one. Right here. This is one of my pets. This is Pancake. He's a bearded dragon. I adore him. He was a rescue and he was supposed to be my son's. But when we got him, the people who had him before only handled him with oven mitts, and he hated all people. And he was, when they're angry, this part right here turns black. And he was always black, and his throat was all puffed up, and he was pacing back and forth in his cage. And so I just started petting him and petting him and petting him so that he didn't need oven mitts anymore. And I did it for my son, but then by the time I was done, the lizard liked me, and I really like the lizard. So my son doesn't have this lizard. This is my lizard. Isn't he cute? He's so cute. If you pay attention while I'm lecturing, you'll hear because we have parakeets. And also my daughter has pet rats. They're in a rat palace. Maybe I'll show it to you in some other lecture. I have dogs. These are the pets. Oh, chickens. Yeah, chickens are the pets. I mean, we got them for the eggs, but they're pets. We get the eggs too, pets and eggs. It's like a bonus pet. Let me put them back. Probably left some off. My dogs will probably show up in some of the lectures too. So I really like animals. And in fact, I went through most of my undergraduate education thinking I was going to be a veterinarian. And I interned for a zoo vet and for a dog and cat vet and even a monkey vet. You're like, monkey vet? Yeah, so I went to high school in Puerto Rico. And there's a whole island filled with macaques, which are kind of monkey that are native to Asia, not Puerto Rico, but somebody had moved a whole bunch over to an island there called Cayo Santiago, but people there just call it Monkey Island. But anyway, there's a vet who works with those monkeys, and I interned with that guy for a while. But then just as I was about to graduate from college, my mentor said to me, hey, Sharon, are you sure you want to be a vet? I'm like, hell yeah, it's what I've been doing since I was 9. And he said, yeah, but you don't really like medicine. You like animal behavior. And I went, oh, oh, he's right. So at the last minute, I changed from pre-med to anthropology and biology. I put them both together as an undergraduate. And I continued to do that as a graduate student. So my master's is in anthropology, but I've got a minor in biology. And my PhD is in anthropology, again, with a minor in biology. So I'm equal parts of all of those things. But to do the kind of science that I do, you have to understand gene flow. You have to understand evolutionary pressure, selection pressure. You have to understand how an environment actually is capable of modifying organisms, because let's face it, if like we tend to think that survival of the fittest, which is true, we're going to talk about survival of the fittest, but we tend to think about anthropology, I'm sorry, as evolution is like making creatures best fit for their environment. But if that were actually true, we would be like Wolverine and we would have adamantine bones. Okay, there's no such thing as adamantine, but why not titanium? Why don't we have titanium bones? It's stronger than calcium. And if you use an evolutionary framework, you can kind of understand why you don't have titanium bones. And the reason is there's not a lot of titanium in that environment. Like from a biochemistry level, you can't absorb titanium from the soil because there's just not enough of it. But calcium is everywhere and it's super reactive. So you can put it with carbonate and make a shell if you're a clam or a coral or a krill. I like how I made that rhyme. I'm not even sure that krill use that, by the way, so be careful on that. I'm not sure that krill have a calcium carbonate component. I'm still rhyming. So my dream, not a dream, but my science fiction fantasy dream goes something like this. So we develop interstellar space and you need a xenobiologist, somebody who's going to go study biology on a different planet. If you have a strong evolutionary background, I would love that job. And if you have a strong evolutionary background and you understand behavioral ecology, you can really predict a lot of things about organisms based on very little except for observation. You also have to know the laws of heritability, because like on planet Earth, most of the time, if you're looking at your genes, you got half from your mom and half from your dad. And most of the creatures you meet on this planet get half their genes from their mom and half their genes from their dad. And you guys are like, yeah, but what about clones? Yeah, so some creatures clone themselves, like an amoeba or earthworm. Earthworms clone themselves. They can do both. Flukes can also do both. They prefer to have sex. Who doesn't? But earthworms, if you take an earthworm and you put a lonely earthworm into a jar and you feed it and water it, eventually it will reproduce. Sharks don't need sex to reproduce. True fact. Weird fact, but true fact. Anyway, so 50-50. Oh, we all got that one. Cloning, which means that you get all your genes from your previous version of yourself, but also there's some weird shit going on in bee land. In bee land, this is poor Mendel. We're going to talk about Mendel and why this screwed him up a little later, but for bees, they get 75% of their genes from their mom and 25% of their genes from their dad. So weird shit can go on with inheritance. So, but anyway, if I was a xenobiologist and I knew the laws of inheritance, how many genes you get from your mom and how many genes you get from your dad, if you have a mom and if you have a dad, then you can really predict a lot of things about behavior. So for example, if you look at dinosaur records and you can tell that males and females are the same size for whatever dinosaur you're looking at. Do you know what you know about that? You're like, "No, I don't know." Well, that would be me. I'm sure you guys are like, no, what? But if the mom and the dad dinosaur are the same size, do you know what they had? Parental care. That means that both the mom and the dad took care of the babies. Do you know what that also probably means? Monogamy. so so you can tell, like, who would think that you could tell anything about behavior from bones? And yet, if you have a sophisticated understanding of behavioral ecology, you can tell about behavior from the bones. So anyway, where am I going with all this? You guys, dinosaur bones. This is anthropology. This is cultural anthropology. So here's where we're going with this. I am going to teach you guys evolutionary theory, and I'm going to teach it to you better than you're going to learn it in any other class that you're going to have after me until you get to graduate school. By the time you get to graduate school, you might have more sophisticated classes than what you're going to get from me. We are going to take our understanding of our evolutionary framework and we are going to apply it to humans because that's damn cool. See, I cleaned that up a little. I'm just going to use a worse word than damn. And we are going to apply it to human behavior and for I promise hunter-gatherers, and we might apply it to modern humans depending on. Okay, so that's what the class is about, and that's what your professor is about. So now let me tell you a little bit about how this class is organized. All right, you're going to work in groups. Work is always easier with groups. You can't get out of it, so don't send me an email saying, Pochron, I hate my teammates. Okay, if you ended up getting teamed with a slacker, let me know and I will give everybody new groups. That's how that works. So if you're a slacker, realize that you're going to be inconveniencing the entire damn class, because what'll happen is I have randomly assigned people into groups of 3, one group has 2. And if somebody is slacking so much that your teammates are complaining, then I'm just going to reorganize those groups and give you guys new groups. So that means that if you're teamed with a slacker, don't worry about it. We can give you a new group. And if you are a slacker, don't do it, because just do your work. It's 10 weeks. You guys can do anything for 10 weeks. Okay, let's talk about the 10-week thing. All right, not up to me. I didn't come up with this plan, but 10 weeks is what we're going to do. So the New York State Department of Education tells us how many hours we should spend. I forget. Somebody asked me and I put it up on Blackboard. It's like 13. Okay, you don't really have to spend 13 hours a week on this class, but you should budget yourself about 10. And the way that this is going to work is I'm going to give you new content first thing on Wednesday mornings, and everything is going to be due before midnight of the next Tuesday. Each week there are going to be group assignments, which is good because you guys can share the load, and they're going to be individual components. So that's going to be on you. Individual components are going to be things like read a paper and answer questions, and group assignments are going to be make a presentation. How do you make a presentation? Well, you can make a presentation just like I'm making this one. So, and how did I make this one? I set up a Zoom meeting for one. I set it up to record, and I'm lecturing to you. I'm going to save this into the cloud, and then I'm going to upload it onto YouTube, and I'm going to make it available for you guys. You could do the exact same thing. I could be really fancy here. I could be sharing my screen and going through my PowerPoint presentation, which I do in some of the mini lectures that you have coming up. I could be using Google Slides. I could be using Esri's story mapping, if that's what I wanted to do. I could be using voice threads. I'm not going to use voice threads for this class, but you guys could. How do I do these things? Make YouTube your friend. I am not your technology person. Don't ask me how to make a presentation. I'm just giving you some ideas. You guys are college students. It's your job to figure shit out. You're working in a group. Between the 2 of you or the 3 of you, you can figure out how to make a presentation, how to record it, and give me a link. A lot of ways to do it. I don't care how you do it. I just want a link that lets me watch your presentation. I will give you this tip. If you guys decide to use Google Slides as your presentation method, which is fine, but you have to make sure that you share the audio files with me. Google is a little inconvenient for your audience if you don't set it up correctly. Okay, so you're gonna have to be making presentations. Let's talk a minute about due dates. So I've just told you that everything is due at midnight the following Tuesday after I've given it to you. Make every effort to get your group work done on time, because if you are falling behind, then you're going to be dragging your group behind. So make that your first priority. Group work gets first priority. Individual work, I will accept all work late, including group work. Like if your group is all like, oh, we can't do this, it's too hard, we need another week, fine. But whatever grade you were gonna get, I dock 20%. So you can be as late as you want, but I dock 20%. Okay, but I'm not an asshole. Sorry, I'm not an asshole about this. So like if you got coronavirus or your mom got coronavirus or you couldn't buy the book in time, that's a popular one. Just let me know for the individual work and I will waive the 20% deduction. But you know, if you just can't get your act together and you're just late, just take the 20% deduction and let that go. But if you really have a serious issue going on in your life, let me know and I will waive that 20% deduction. Okay, there are 3 books that you have to buy for this class. You have to buy Breasts by Florence Williams, which I put up in Blackboard. I put all this up in Blackboard. You have to buy Breasts. You have to buy Nisa. Oh, that's the other one. Oh my gosh, Nisa is great. These are all easy reading and interesting reading books. My daughter read Nisa when she was in 6th grade. It's meant for college students, but my daughter read it in 6th grade. So you guys can read it now. Florence Williams is intended for adult audience, but it's also super accessible. I've never had students say it was too hard. So I picked easy things, right? Easy, interesting things. And then the final book is called Monkeys in the Garden, and I wrote that. And I wrote it for, I originally wrote it for high school students, but, and I originally had a publisher for it. I'll talk more about that when we get to the Monkeys in the Garden section. The publisher backed out just as the book was going to press. So it's a real book. I wrote it. It's a real book. It's not just, you know, some hack self-published thing. It's good. Yeah, those are the 3 things you need to buy. None of them are expensive. I can't remember what the prices were. I put them in Blackboard, but nothing is more than 30 bucks. Monkeys in the Garden is $5. And I donate all of the money I make for that for the forest that I serve as president of the Friends group for. A lot of prepositions in that sentence, sorry. All right, so I hope you really enjoy this class. I hope you enjoy the reading material. I hope you stay motivated to work with your group. If you need to contact me, I have given you both my Stony Brook account and my Suffolk account addresses on the syllabus. I respond to the Stony Brook account a little faster because I read it faster. It's hooked up to my phone. My Suffolk isn't hooked up to my phone. And I work full time for Stony Brook, which is why it gets priority. So if you want me to see what you have to say faster, send it to Stony Brook. Send it to both, man. I don't care. But I do ask that you tell me what class you're in, because I teach 4 classes a semester. And I know you guys think that, oh, she'll remember what class, but just tell me I'm in your Anthropology 101 class at Suffolk and I need X, Y, and Z. I'm happy with that. But just if you guys want to tell me which class you're in, it really will make my life easier. And let's see, typically I'm slow on grading because I teach 4 classes and I run a lab and I'm a major director. So be patient with me. I am always patient with you. I shouldn't say always. I strive to be patient with you guys. I lose my patience a little bit if you guys ask questions that are answered in something I just told you. But the good news is that I don't remember. Usually if you annoyed me, I can't remember. I don't keep track of who annoyed me. So I don't take it personally. For instance, I sent out, when I sent out the Blackboard email that said, you'll be working in groups, directions to follow. Somebody immediately answered, how do we do the groups? Okay, that was annoying because I said directions to follow. That's the bad news. I was annoyed. The good news is I can't remember who did that. So if you're sitting there listening, they're just going, oh my God, that was me. Really, I don't remember who said it to me. And I'm not going to go back and look because I don't care. But do try to make sure that I actually didn't just give you the answer to the question. One way to make sure, like, I'm afraid to ask her now. Just ask your group mates first. If your teammates are like, I don't know, she didn't tell me, which happens. Like, I will screw up. I will screw up in Blackboard. I will screw up with directions. This is not typically a class I teach online. You guys are like my third version of teaching online. There will be mistakes. So I am always patient with those kind of things. And even if I am impatient, I let it go. But ask your group mates first. And if you all agree, then I was a knucklehead, then then email me and tell me what class you're in and ask what the problem is. So for instance, I don't know if it's going to be a problem this semester because you guys are my third time running through most of this material electronically. But when I first put all the questions for the homework up on Blackboard, I entered some of the answers wrong. And so students were going through, Pochron, I know the answer to number 12 is E, but it keeps saying it's A. And it's because I goofed it up when I entered it. And so that will never irritate me. I will fix it. You will get your points back. Everybody will get their points back and we'll all be happy. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. Also, don't worry about saying I'm sick and everybody in my house is sick and my kid is sick or whatever. I will give you time extensions for all of that. Especially if you are managing to keep up with your group work, because that is the most important thing. Okay. I think that's all I've got for the introduction. If you guys need to talk to me, like via Zoom or via phone, I can set up those appointments. Typically, I ask to meet people at 9 in the morning, sometimes 8:30 in the morning, depending on your schedule. So like I try to do it first thing, but we can be later than that. I will work with your schedules. And I hope you guys have a great semester. Okay, I'm signing off, and I hope that that you guys like this class. Okay, bye.